Those who argue over right and wrong are mere mortals. Xiefeng. February 15, 2025. When flies and bees argue over right and wrong, who is right and who is wrong? Clearly, the one who argues is wrong. When a blade of grass and a towering tree argue over right and wrong, who is right and who is wrong? Naturally, the one who remains silent is right. When a cat and a mouse, a wolf and a sheep, an ox and a horse argue over right and wrong, who is right and who is wrong? Neither is wrong, but the one who argues is. When Christianity and Buddhism argue over right and wrong, who is right and who is wrong? When a university professor and a 3-year-old child argue over right and wrong, who is right and who is wrong? When a walnut and a watermelon argue over right and wrong, who is right and who is wrong? When a man and a woman argue over right and wrong, when worldly people and mortals argue over right and wrong, when mortals and sages argue over right and wrong, when sages and celestial beings argue over right and wrong, when Buddhas and super-celestial beings argue over right and wrong, tell me, who is right and who is wrong? When husbands and wives argue over right and wrong, and in the end, they part ways, who ended up being right? Even if you are right 10,000 times over, you still cannot declare others wrong. Can a bee say that flies are wrong for feeding on feces? Can a cat say that a mouse is wrong for digging holes? Can a mortal say that worldly people are wrong for being obsessed with money? Can a celestial being say that mortals are wrong for prioritizing emotions? None of these judgments hold any weight. Even between brothers, between sisters, between colleagues, between those who walk the same path, one cannot say, I am right and you are wrong. One is destined for heaven, the other for hell. Of course, their thoughts and actions will differ entirely. How can one claim to be right while the other is wrong? Can you say someone's appearance is wrong? Can you say someone's parents gave birth to the wrong person? Can you say someone's opinions and stance are wrong? Can you say that eating only sweet potatoes and not potatoes is wrong? Can you declare it wrong for someone to cheat, steal, or even commit murder? Can you declare it wrong for lions and tigers to hunt and eat herbivores? The human world is a transit station where all things either ascend or fall, a marketplace where debts are repaid, and a crucial link in the dynamic balance of cosmic life. This is simply how the world is. If you find mice sneaky and repulsive, that is your own issue. If you think the Tao is unfair, that is merely your short-sightedness, unaware of past causes and consequences. To argue with others over right and wrong is to invite trouble upon yourself. It severs your own path to joy and happiness. Now, here's a question: what if 3, 5, or even a group of people are working together on a project, say, building a villa, and a disagreement arises during the process? Simple. Whoever is in charge gets the final say. Whoever is in charge bears all consequences. The others should simply cooperate with joy. If you neither take responsibility nor bear the consequences, yet refuse to cooperate, then what nonsense are you spouting? If you insist that someone is wrong, that their methods and ideas are flawed, fine. Take charge yourself and bear all consequences. If you cannot take responsibility and cannot bear the consequences, then what nonsense are you spouting? Criticizing and blaming others, who cannot do that? If you believe someone lacks the qualifications or character to take responsibility and cannot bear the consequences, then the solution is simple: leave them and walk your own path. Isn't that an easy way to resolve the conflict of right and wrong? If others laugh, that is their freedom and their right. If you want to cry, that is your freedom and your right. But if those who wish to laugh forbid others from crying, or those who wish to cry forbid others from laughing, that's just absurd. The tragedy of habitual acceptance. Xiefeng. February 19, 2025. Imagine a person born in a prison, spending their entire life within its walls, knowing nothing about the outside world. By the time they reach 50, they would likely believe that this environment is natural and unquestionable, that life is simply meant to be this way. If they were fortunate enough to find love with someone of the opposite sex, they would feel happiness and joy, believing that this was the full essence and meaning of life. Imagine a person born on a small island in the Pacific Ocean, an island inhabited by thousands of people who know nothing of the world beyond their shores, unaware that vast continents exist across the sea. They would be content with their island life, living their days in carefree joy, never entertaining thoughts beyond their island. Their birthplace tells them that everything is as it should be, that this reality is natural and inevitable. Imagine a person born in a small country that experiences only 2 seasons, a dry season and a rainy season. Having never traveled far, they remain ignorant of the climates and landscapes thousands of miles away. Naturally, they would assume that the entire world is just like their homeland, where snow never falls, and winter is nothing but a myth. No matter their living conditions or quality of life, they would consider everything normal, believing that life is simply meant to be this way. Imagine a person born on Earth, growing up accustomed to the daily rising and setting of the sun, the animal kingdom governed by the law of the jungle, and human society driven by conflict, competition, and the struggle for energy. Nations wage wars over land and resources. Though the night sky is filled with countless planets, they remain impossibly distant, forever out of reach. Instinctively, this person would believe that Earth is humanity's only home and that this way of living is the natural order of existence. Now, imagine if the person born in prison learned of a vast, beautiful world beyond its walls. If the islander discovered that endless oceans led to distant continents. If the one confined to a small nation realized that humanity could live in unity. If the Earth dweller came to know about the 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, and the Elysium world that exist beyond this planet. Their thoughts would no longer be confined to the limits of their upbringing. They would inevitably feel the urge to break free, or at the very least, to explore the vastness beyond. They would long to see the world. This phenomenon reveals a profound truth: what we habitually accept often becomes the very chains that shackle our minds. Dear reader, what are the things you habitually accept that may be limiting your imagination, obstructing your path to a better life, and hindering your vision of a bright and magnificent future? A person is born, goes to school, finds a job, gets married, has children, starts a family, watches their grandchildren grow, and then, like their ancestors before them, dies, only to be placed in a coffin and buried beneath the earth. Is this not a tragedy?